Hey everyone, if you've ever stepped foot in a gym, you've probably wondered about this. Should I be lifting heavier weight or should I be doing more reps? It's that classic debate, right? Volume versus intensity. Well, in this breakdown, we're going to dive into the science to show you exactly which one is the right choice for your goals. So let's get right into it.
This really is the question, isn't it? The answer is going to determine whether you're building pure, raw strength or sculpting more muscle, or maybe trying to do a little bit of both. And I promise by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly how to set up your training for whatever it is you're trying to achieve.
You know, pretty much everything you do in the gym, every single lift, boils down to these two big ideas. Think of them like the two main dials on a soundboard that you can turn up or down to fine-tune your results. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's make sure we're on the same page about what they actually mean. Okay, so on one side, you've got volume. It's pretty simple. It's just the total amount of work you're putting in. On the other side, you've got intensity, and that's all about how hard that work is, how difficult it is. So one is about how much, and the other is about how hard. Let's break that down just a little bit more.
Training volume actually has a really simple formula. Don't worry, the math is easy. It's just your sets multiplied by your reps multiplied by the weight you used. So let's say you do 3 sets of 10 reps with 100 pounds. Your total volume for that exercise is 3,000 pounds. It's a super clear way to measure your total workload.
Intensity, on the other hand, is all relative. It's measured as a percentage of your 1 rep max, or your 1 RM. Now, what's that? It's exactly what it sounds like. The absolute heaviest weight you could possibly lift for one single perfect repetition. So if your max bench press is 100 pounds and you're lifting 80, you're training at 80% intensity. Simple as that. All right, so now that we know what we're talking about, let's see how this stuff actually applies. We're going to start with volume. If your main goal is building bigger muscles, the fancy word for that is hypertrofie, then volume is without a doubt your most important tool.
And look, this isn't just some theory or bro science you hear in the locker room. This is backed by a ton of solid research. When it comes to packing on muscle size, your total training volume is the #1 most critical factor for making that happen.
Yeah, researchers like the great Schoenfeld have found this really clear dose-response relationship. In plain English, that just means the more sets you do each week, the more muscle you build. But, and this is a big but, only up to a certain point. It turns out there's a real sweet spot, and for most people, that's somewhere between 10 to 20 sets per muscle group per week.
And this chart shows that sweet spot perfectly. If you do too little volume, you're just leaving gains on the table. But if you try to push way past that 20-set mark every week, you don't just keep growing forever. Instead, you hit a point of diminishing returns. Your body just can't recover, and your progress can stall out or even go backward. More is definitely not always better. Okay, so volume drives size. Got it. But what if your goal isn't just to look strong? You want to be strong, to lift the absolute heaviest weight you can. Well, for that, we need to turn that other dial we talked about, intensity. When it comes to building strength, the science is just as clear. The main driver, the absolute key to strength gains, is high intensity. If you want to get stronger, you have to practice lifting heavy things. It's really that simple.
And just like with volume, research has found a very specific sweet spot for strength. To really force your body to adapt and get stronger, you need to be working in that 80 to 85% range of your 1 rep max. That's where the magic really happens for strength. But why is that? Well, it's not just about your muscles physically getting bigger. Lifting heavy is actually training your nervous system. It's a process called neural adaptation. Your brain literally gets better and way more efficient at telling your muscle fibers to fire, and to fire all at once. You're building a stronger, faster connection between your mind and your muscles.
And this quote from the experts at Helms just nails it. You can build muscle using a whole range of different weights and intensities, that's true. But to maximize pure raw strength, you have to train with heavy loads. There's just no way around it. So we've got volume for size and intensity for strength. It seems like a pretty simple choice, right? Pick your goal, pick your path. But it's not quite that easy, because there's one critical factor that kind of throws a wrench in the works and forces a trade-off. And that one crucial factor, the thing that changes everything, is recovery. See, your body only has a limited ability to recover from the stress you put on it in the gym. You can't just crank both your volume and your intensity to the max all the time and expect to get away with it. It creates this unavoidable trade-off. Think of it like a seesaw. Heavy, high-intensity lifting is incredibly taxing on your central nervous system.
So to let it recover, you have to lower your total volume. On the flip side, high volume workouts create a ton of muscle fatigue and damage. And to be able to handle all that work, you can't be lifting at 90% of your max. So as one side of the seesaw goes up, the other side has to come down.
So let's put it all together. This right here is your ultimate training cheat sheet. For maximum strength, look at that intensity. It's super high, over 80%, but the reps are low. For muscle growth, the intensity is more moderate, but the weekly volume is high, right in that 10 to 20 set sweet spot we talked about. And for muscular endurance, the intensity drops even more, but the reps go way up. All you have to do is find your goal on the left, and it gives you the formula for success.
But what if you're thinking, I want both? I want size and strength. Well, the smartest way to do that is a pro-level strategy called periodization. You don't just pick one and stick with it forever. Instead, you create specific training blocks. Maybe you spend a few weeks focused on higher volume to build muscle. Then you switch to a block focused on high intensity to build strength. Cycling your focus like this lets you get the best of both worlds over time.
So let's bring it all home one last time. The essence is this. Volume is king for building muscle size. Intensity is the absolute key for unlocking pure strength. And the ultimate path to long-term continuous progress is to intelligently switch your focus between the two.
Which leaves us with one final question for you. Take an honest look at your own workout plan. Are you deliberately turning those dials of volume and intensity to perfectly match what you want to achieve? Or are you just kind of going through the motions? Because now you have the knowledge to train smarter.